Hello, my friends. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Justin Urquez, and I'm launching a YouTube channel called Simple Living Nomad. Now, the channel is about exploration. It's the best way I can describe it. It will be geared towards solo independent travelers because that's what I've been. That's what I've been doing for the past 2 decades. And I do it well. So I've decided to compile a lot of different topics and subjects that are connected to exploration and create a YouTube channel that will address specific topics. Probably, between 3 and 5 minutes per video. And so that's the idea behind this. An idea of what type of topics will be covered, for example, will be exploration as a way of life, using hostels or hosteling, something I'm doing at the moment. I'm currently in Podgorica, Montenegro, and I traveled to Albania during this short trip, but I've stayed in hostels the whole time, and it's been amazing. I've saved quite a bit on lodging in general, and met some pretty cool people, and have connections now in a few different places because I've stayed at a hostel. Another topic that will be talked about, discussed, is being a respectful guest. I think this is huge, and I try to be a super respectful guest in the terms of keeping the space clean, maybe helping with some kind of a chore or activity at the hostel, or if you're staying at someone's home in a guest house type of situation, but like really being a respectful guest and appreciative of the space. I know you're paying for the space, but you're still, I'm still appreciative that these people have opened up their home, their apartment, whatever, to me during this episode of exploration. So it's a big one. Benefits of off-peak travel. There'll be a video for that. Doing research before your trip. Video for that. Language for travel. Definitely a video for that. And I'll briefly discuss what I have in store for that video. I've been lazy, like a lot of American tourists, because English, it's used, many places. So we kind of like fall back into that. Yeah, well, they speak English there, and cool. I mean, again, I've really fallen back on that. But I will say, when I learn numbers, when I learn basic phrases, when I learn greetings, my experience is much richer. So I have a bunch of little techniques and strategies on that. So that should be a good topic for sure. Traveling light. What I mean is literally traveling light physically, not taking too much, which I've done many times. And it's actually been detrimental to the overall experience. So I, try my best to bring what I need. And I've gotten better. I've definitely gotten better. But I think it's a big deal, especially for the independent kind of solo traveler who bounces from place to place, from night to night, and just having too much luggage. It makes you miserable. It could definitely make you miserable. Anyway, what else? Dining out and Booze, alcohol. Yes, I have tips and strategies for this because it could be a big expense. And I figured out ways to enjoy the local cuisine at restaurants from the street, street stalls and markets and things of that nature. But yeah, some tips on that. Lodging. There's so much out there nowadays with hotels, of course. You have hostels. For the people who maybe have never been to a hostel, it's more of kind of like a dormitory situation. There could be some private rooms in hostels, and they all vary because they're all different shapes and sizes. So anyway, I'll address the hosteling in its own video because it needs that attention. Airbnb, Booking.com, couch surfing. There's a lot of different camping. There's a lot of different ways to different types of lodging these days. So we'll definitely talk about it. Bang for your buck, getting bang for your buck. So maybe choosing destinations where your local currency has a bit of leverage over the currency of the place you're thinking about. This is a common practice for me because, well, I'm an educator and I don't have a huge bank account. But I've been able to have some amazing traveling experiences in places where maybe my US dollar had some leverage over that currency. And I could stay a lot longer as well. Anyway, we'll talk about it. Traveling off the beaten path, it's my mantra, basically. And I'll talk about the pros and cons, the benefits and the drawbacks. I love it. Some may not, but hear me out on it. This one is huge. There'll be a video devoted to flexibility, being flexible. Being flexible is huge, huge, huge. So we'll talk about it. Another topic is exercise during your trip. It can happen and it should happen. And one thing that I make sure it's factored into my experience is I walk everywhere. I get to a location and I'm walking and walking and walking and looking and seeing and smelling and tasting. It's my favorite way to move around. I like using a bike as well, but walking is by far my favorite way to get around. Another video will be devoted to map work. Yes, map work for the geographer in you. You can do quite a bit of it before you arrive to a destination, and you can also pick up paper maps when you arrive at tourism offices and things of that nature. And remember, there are all different types of maps. So there'll be maps that showcase and highlight all the cultural institutions and buildings. There'll be another one that showcases the natural landscape. So the more map work you do, the better you'll feel when you get somewhere. In addition, I've had this happen quite a few times, is in conversation with people at a bar, at a cafe, in the street. The fact that I know a little bit about the physical landscape of this place and bringing it up in conversation with people, it really is a connection tool. So people are always proud of their place, in most cases. And if you have knowledge, even if it's minimal, about their place, you're going to be received in a warm way. And I highly recommend it. So map work. Something I've used is for a connection tool is meetup.com. I'll talk about meetup.com. I've used it in the United States, and I've also used it in Poland and other countries. And instead of hiking in the Tatra Mountains by myself, I had a group of people to hike with, and it was fantastic. Okay, so we'll talk about that. Talk about transport in general. There'll be a video on different transport options and techniques and strategies behind that. Airfare. Yes, we'll talk about it. I'm not an expert on airfare, but I'll give you my philosophy and some of my techniques on getting good airfare. Safety. We'll talk about it. Self-explanatory safety. Currencies. Exchanging currencies. Math and numbers involved. Can be intimidating, but we'll sift through it. You know, we'll talk about it. And here's one. The last one I have at the moment is creating, meeting people, interacting with people from that country, people from other countries, people from your country, whatever. Interacting, creating friendships, and potentially visiting these people in the future. I've done it. I will continue to do it. And it's a beautiful thing. Anyway, that's the channel in a nutshell. If there are any questions about this project, this channel, I'll also be creating a small business connected to travel and advice and consultation. So anyway, my email is justinurquez@gmail.com, and look out for the YouTube channel Simple Living Nomad. One more thing about the channel itself is that the goal of this channel is to share information and knowledge about traveling, the actual act of traveling and exploring. But in addition, in my experience, living simple in my home has also enabled me to be a world traveler. So I'm going to share techniques that will help you become a world traveler if you have that desire. Okay, thank you for your time, and have a peaceful and productive day. Take care.